The morning sun cast long shadows across the military shooting range as Sergeant Sarah Mitchell adjusted her rifle scope for the third time. Her hands were steady, but her heart raced knowing that today would be different. General Harrison, a decorated veteran with 30 years of service, had specifically requested to observe her qualification test. Sarah had heard the whispers in the barracks. Some soldiers questioned whether a woman could handle the pressure of being a military sniper. Others doubted her skills, despite her perfect scores in training. She had worked twice as hard as her male counterparts to earn respect, but respect seemed to slip away like sand through her fingers. The shooting range buzzed with activity as other soldiers practiced their marksmanship. Sarah found her assigned station and began setting up her equipment. Her rifle, a precision instrument she had named Justice, felt familiar in her hands. Every scratch and worn spot told a story of countless hours spent perfecting her craft. General Harrison approached with heavy footsteps, his weathered face showing years of command. Behind him walked Colonel Stevens and Major Thompson, both men Sarah recognized from previous evaluations. The general's reputation preceded him. He was known for his old-school military values and his belief that certain roles were better suited for men. "So this is our female sniper candidate," General Harrison said, his voice carrying across the range. Several nearby soldiers turned to watch, sensing tension in the air. "I have to say, Sergeant Mitchell, I have serious doubts about this whole experiment." Sarah stood at attention, her spine straight and eyes focused ahead. "Yes, sir," she replied simply, keeping her voice level despite the knot forming in her stomach. The general walked around her, examining her stance and equipment like a drill instructor inspecting a new recruit. "I've been in this military for 3 decades," he continued. "I've seen what combat does to people. The physical demands, the psychological pressure, the split-second decisions that determine life and death." He stopped directly in front of her, his gray eyes studying her face. "Sniping isn't just about pulling a trigger, Sergeant. It's about carrying the weight of every shot, every mission, every life that hangs in the balance. Some people aren't cut out for that kind of responsibility." The other officers shifted uncomfortably, aware that the general's words carried more weight than just professional assessment. Sarah felt the stares of dozens of soldiers who had stopped their own training to witness this confrontation. "With respect, sir," Sarah said carefully, "I understand the responsibilities that come with this position. I've trained for 2 years specifically for this role." General Harrison laughed, but there was no humor in the sound. "Training is one thing, real action is another. You might have good scores on paper, but combat doesn't care about your test results." He gestured toward the shooting range where targets were set at various distances. "I've watched plenty of soldiers crack under pressure, men twice your size who couldn't handle the stress when bullets started flying in their direction." Sarah remained silent, knowing that any response might be seen as insubordination. The general's bias was clear, and she understood that words would not change his mind. Only her performance could speak for her abilities. "You know what bothers me most about this situation?" General Harrison continued, his voice growing louder. "It's that we're lowering our standards to meet some political agenda. The military isn't a place for social experiments. Lives depend on having the best people in the most critical positions." Colonel Stevens cleared his throat. "General, perhaps we should allow Sergeant Mitchell to demonstrate her capabilities before making any judgments." The general turned sharply toward the colonel, his jaw set with determination. "That's exactly what we're going to do, Stevens. I want to see what this young lady can do under real pressure." He walked to the control station where range officials monitored the shooting exercises. "Set up the advanced qualification course," he ordered. "Full-distance targets, moving objectives, time pressure, and environmental challenges." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. The advanced qualification course was typically reserved for veteran snipers with years of field experience. It tested not only marksmanship, but also decision-making under extreme stress. "Sir," Major Thompson interjected, "the advanced course might be premature for an initial qualification." "Nonsense," General Harrison snapped. "If Sergeant Mitchell wants to wear the sniper badge, she needs to prove she can handle anything we throw at her. No special treatment, no reduced standards." The range officials began setting up the complex course. Targets appeared at distances ranging from 400 to 1,200 meters. Some targets moved unpredictably, while others were partially concealed behind obstacles. Wind flags showed challenging crosswinds that would affect bullet trajectory. Sarah checked her equipment one final time. Her scope was perfectly calibrated, her rifle properly zeroed, and her breathing controlled. She had prepared for this moment her entire military career, knowing that she would have to prove herself beyond any reasonable doubt. "You have 20 minutes to engage 12 targets," General Harrison announced. "Each target represents a different tactical scenario. Miss more than 2 shots, and you fail. Take longer than the time limit, and you fail. Show any hesitation or poor judgment, and you fail." The watching soldiers formed a semicircle around the shooting area. Word had spread quickly through the base that the female sniper candidate was about to face an unprecedented challenge. Some soldiers supported Sarah, having witnessed her dedication and skill during training. Others remained skeptical, influenced by traditional military culture. Sarah took her position behind the firing line, adjusting her prone stance for maximum stability. Through her scope, she could see the first target, a silhouette partially hidden behind a concrete barrier at 600 meters. The wind was gusting from the northwest at approximately 15 miles per hour. "This is your moment of truth, Sergeant," General Harrison said, checking his stopwatch. "Let's see if you really deserve that badge you're so eager to earn." The range fell silent except for the sound of wind moving through the nearby trees. Sarah controlled her breathing, feeling her heart rate slow as she entered the focused state that had become second nature during her training. Every hour spent on the range, every night studying ballistics, every moment of doubt and determination had led to this single test. "Begin when ready," the general commanded. Sarah's finger found the trigger as she lined up her first shot. The weight of expectations, prejudice, and opportunity pressed down on her shoulders like a physical force. Through her scope, the world narrowed to a single point of focus where her crosshairs met the target. The first shot would set the tone for everything that followed. Success would open doors that had been closed to women for decades. Failure would reinforce every stereotype and doubt that had followed her throughout her military career. In the silence of the range, Sarah Mitchell prepared to prove that skill, determination, and dedication had no gender. The general's words echoed in her mind as she steadied herself for the most important shooting demonstration of her life. Sarah's first shot rang out across the range like thunder. Through her scope, she watched the bullet strike the center of the target at 600 meters. The impact sent a small cloud of dust into the air, confirming her perfect hit. Without celebration or hesitation, she smoothly worked the bolt action and searched for her second target. General Harrison glanced at his stopwatch, noting that only 8 seconds had elapsed. His expression remained stern, though a flicker of surprise crossed his weathered features. Colonel Stevens and Major Thompson exchanged glances, both recognizing the exceptional precision of the shot. The second target appeared at 800 meters, moving laterally across a gap between 2 buildings. Sarah calculated the target's speed, adjusted for wind drift, and led the moving silhouette by the precise amount needed. Her breathing slowed to the rhythm she had practiced thousands of times. The shot echoed across the range, and the moving target stopped abruptly as the bullet found its mark. 2 for 2. Sarah's confidence began to build, but she knew the course would only get more challenging. "Lucky shots," General Harrison muttered. though his voice lacked the conviction of his earlier statements. The watching soldiers remained silent, recognizing they were witnessing something extraordinary. Target 3 was positioned at 1,000 meters, barely visible through atmospheric haze and heat shimmer. This distance separated amateur shooters from true marksmen. Sarah adjusted her scope's elevation, compensated for the increased wind effect at longer range, and settled into her shooting position. The silence stretched for nearly 30 seconds as she studied the target through her scope. General Harrison tapped his stopwatch impatiently, while other officers leaned forward to better observe her technique. When the shot came, it seemed to surprise everyone except Sarah herself. The distant target showed a clear impact mark in the scoring zone. 3 perfect hits. The murmur of impressed voices began to ripple through the crowd of observing soldiers. "She's actually doing it," someone whispered. "Look at that grouping." Target 4 presented a new challenge, a hostage scenario where a terrorist silhouette held a civilian target at 700 meters. Sarah had to hit the threat without endangering the innocent bystander represented by a separate target just inches away. This shot required not only precision, but also tactical judgment. Sarah studied the scenario through her scope, noting the exact positioning of both figures. In real combat, this type of shot would mean the difference between saving a life and creating a tragedy. The weight of that responsibility had been drilled into her throughout training. Her shot was deliberate and controlled. The bullet struck the terrorist figure cleanly, leaving the hostage target completely undamaged. General Harrison stepped closer to the spotting scope to verify the result himself. His frown deepened as he confirmed another perfect shot. 4 for 4, Colonel Stevens announced quietly. Outstanding marksmanship under pressure. Target 5 was another moving target, this time at maximum range, 1,200 meters. At this distance, even weather conditions became critical factors. A slight change in humidity, temperature, or wind speed could send a bullet several inches off target. Sarah took her time analyzing the environmental conditions. She watched the wind flags at various distances, noting how the breeze changed direction and speed across the range. The target moved in an unpredictable pattern, appearing and disappearing behind cover. When the target emerged from behind a barrier, Sarah was ready. Her shot seemed to hang in the air for an eternity before finding its mark at the extreme range. Even through the spotting scopes, the impact was difficult to see clearly. But the target's reaction confirmed another hit. The crowd of soldiers was no longer trying to hide their amazement. Several officers used binoculars to verify the impossible shots they were witnessing. General Harrison's stopwatch showed 12 minutes remaining, and Sarah had successfully engaged 5 increasingly difficult targets without a single miss. "This is unprecedented for a qualification test," Major Thompson said quietly to Colonel Stevens. "I've seen veteran snipers struggle with this course." General Harrison overheard the comment and turned sharply toward the major. "The test isn't over yet. Let's see how she handles the pressure scenarios." Targets 6 through 8 were designed to simulate combat stress. They appeared simultaneously at different ranges, requiring rapid target acquisition and engagement. In real combat, a sniper might face multiple threats appearing suddenly, demanding split-second prioritization. Sarah identified the targets quickly, one at 500 meters, another at 750 meters, and a third at 900 meters. Based on the tactical scenario painted on each target, she determined the proper engagement order. The closest target represented an immediate threat that required neutralization first. Her shots came in rapid succession, each one carefully aimed despite the time pressure. The sound of 3 quick impacts echoed across the range as each bullet found its intended target. The speed and accuracy of her engagement drew audible gasps from the watching soldiers. "Incredible," someone said. "She's shooting like a machine." Target 9 presented an ethical dilemma that tested judgment as much as marksmanship. The scenario showed multiple figures at 800 meters, but only one was clearly identified as a hostile threat. The others could be civilians or friendly forces. Choosing the wrong target would result in immediate failure. Sarah spent valuable seconds studying the scenario through her high-powered scope. She identified subtle details that marked the legitimate target: posture, positioning, and equipment that indicated hostile intent. When she fired, her bullet struck the correct figure precisely. General Harrison was no longer making dismissive comments. He watched each shot with the focused attention of a professional soldier, recognizing exceptional skill. His earlier prejudice was being systematically dismantled by Sarah's flawless performance. Target 10 was a long-range precision shot at a small target representing an enemy sniper at 1,100 meters. The target was partially concealed and required Sarah to hit a very specific area to simulate neutralizing the threat effectively. Sarah adjusted her position slightly to get a better angle through the concealment. Her breathing became even more controlled as she prepared for one of the most challenging shots of the qualification. The target area was less than 6 inches across, at over a kilometer away. The shot was perfect. Through the spotting scope, observers could see the bullet impact exactly where it needed to hit. Sarah had now successfully engaged 10 consecutive targets without a single miss, under conditions that would challenge experienced snipers. Target 11 appeared at medium range, but with an added complication. It was partially obscured by a no-shoot civilian figure. Sarah had to thread her bullet through a narrow gap to hit the threat, while ensuring the civilian remained safe. This shot required absolute precision and confidence. Any hesitation or uncertainty could result in missing the target or worse, hitting the innocent bystander. Sarah lined up the shot with mechanical precision, her training taking over completely. The bullet passed cleanly through the gap and struck the hostile target perfectly. 11 perfect shots. The watching crowd had grown larger as word spread throughout the base about the extraordinary demonstration taking place. General Harrison looked at his stopwatch. 18 minutes had elapsed, leaving Sarah 2 minutes to engage the final target. His expression had changed from skepticism to something approaching respect, though he tried to maintain his stern demeanor. The 12th and final target represented the ultimate test, a long-range moving target at variable distance, appearing and disappearing unpredictably. This shot combined every skill that a military sniper needed to master: range estimation, wind reading, target tracking, and precise timing. Sarah watched the target area through her scope, waiting for the figure to appear. When it emerged from cover at approximately 1,000 meters and began moving laterally, she had only seconds to calculate and execute the shot. Her final shot of the qualification rang out across the range with the same authority as her first. The moving target stopped immediately, showing clear evidence of impact. 12 targets, 12 perfect hits, completed with nearly 2 minutes to spare. The silence that followed was broken only by the sound of wind across the range. General Harrison stared at his stopwatch, then at the scorecard showing 12 consecutive bullseyes. Every officer and soldier present understood they had witnessed something exceptional. Sarah remained in position for a moment, ensuring the qualification was officially complete. When she finally stood and safed her rifle, the tension that had gripped the range for 20 minutes began to dissolve. The silence stretched across the shooting range like a held breath. General Harrison stood motionless, staring at the scorecard that documented what he had just witnessed. 12 perfect shots, 0 misses, completed with time to spare under the most challenging conditions he could devise. Sarah maintained her military bearing, standing at attention beside her rifle. Her face showed no emotion, though inside her heart hammered with the realization of what she had just accomplished. She had not only passed the qualification, she had delivered a flawless performance that would be talked about for years. Colonel Stevens was the first to break the silence. "General, I believe that concludes the qualification test." His voice carried a note of amazement that he couldn't quite hide. General Harrison walked slowly to the spotting scope and looked downrange at the targets. Through the powerful optics, he could see the precise bullet holes clustered in the center of each target. There was no denying the evidence before his eyes. The crowd of soldiers who had gathered to watch remained respectfully quiet, but the excitement was visible on their faces. Several junior officers whispered among themselves, recognizing that military history had just been made at their small base. "In 30 years of military service," General Harrison said slowly, his voice carrying across the range, "I have never witnessed marksmanship of this caliber during a qualification test." Sarah remained at attention, unsure whether the general's statement was praise or simply acknowledgement of fact. His tone was different now. The dismissive edge had been replaced by something that sounded almost like wonder. The general turned to face her directly. "Sergeant Mitchell, your performance today has been—" He paused, searching for the right words. "Exceptional. Unprecedented. Beyond anything I expected when I arrived here this morning." Major Thompson stepped forward with the official scorecard. "Sir, Sergeant Mitchell has achieved a perfect score on the advanced qualification course. This is the first perfect score recorded on this particular test." General Harrison took the scorecard and studied it carefully. Each shot was marked with precise measurements, showing bullet placement within the highest scoring zones. The times recorded for each engagement demonstrated not only accuracy, but also tactical decision-making under pressure. "I owe you an apology, Sergeant," the general said, his voice carrying a weight that surprised everyone present. "I came here today with preconceived notions about your abilities based on nothing more than outdated prejudices." Sarah's eyes widened slightly, though she maintained her military posture. An apology from General Harrison was as rare as it was significant. Officers throughout the base knew of his reputation for never backing down from his stated positions. "You have demonstrated skills that surpass most veteran snipers I have known," the general continued. "Your precision under pressure, your tactical judgment, and your composure throughout this test have proven that my doubts were completely unfounded." The general removed something from his uniform pocket, the coveted sniper badge that Sarah had worked so hard to earn. The small metal insignia represented years of training, sacrifice, and dedication to achieving the highest standards of marksmanship. "More than that," he said, holding the badge where everyone could see it, "you have shown me that excellence in military service has nothing to do with gender and everything to do with skill, determination, and character." A murmur of approval rippled through the crowd of watching soldiers. Many had worked alongside Sarah during her training and had witnessed her dedication firsthand. Others were learning for the first time what true equality in military service looked like. General Harrison stepped closer to Sarah. "Sergeant Mitchell, it is my honor to award you the Sniper Qualification Badge. You have more than earned the right to wear it." He pinned the badge to her uniform with the same ceremony typically reserved for medal presentations. The small action carried enormous symbolic weight, representing a barrier broken and a new standard established. "Furthermore," the general announced, addressing the gathered soldiers, "I am recommending Sergeant Mitchell for immediate advancement to the Special Operations Sniper Program. Her skills warrant assignment to the most challenging missions our military faces." Sarah's eyes reflected her shock at this unexpected honor. The Special Operations Program was the elite tier of military sniping, reserved for the most exceptional marksmen in all branches of service. The recommendation from General Harrison would carry tremendous weight with the selection board. "Thank you, sir," Sarah said, her voice steady despite the emotions she felt. "I will continue to uphold the highest standards of military service." The general nodded approvingly. "I have no doubt that you will, Sergeant. Your performance today has reminded me that the military's strength comes from recognizing and utilizing the best talent available, regardless of any other factors." Colonel Stevens stepped forward. "General, I believe this demonstration should be documented for training purposes. Future sniper candidates, both male and female, could benefit from studying Sergeant Mitchell's techniques. An excellent suggestion, General Harrison agreed. I want this performance analyzed and incorporated into our advanced training curriculum. Excellence should be studied and replicated whenever possible. As the formal ceremony concluded, soldiers began to approach Sarah to offer their congratulations. Many had been skeptical observers at the beginning of the test, but her performance had earned their respect and admiration. Sergeant Rodriguez, a veteran marksman who had initially doubted a woman's ability to handle sniper duties, extended his hand. "That was the most impressive shooting I've ever witnessed," he said sincerely. "You've changed my mind about a lot of things today." Other soldiers echoed similar sentiments. The demonstration had accomplished more than just qualifying Sarah for sniper duties. It had challenged assumptions and opened minds throughout the base. General Harrison gathered the officers for a brief discussion. "Today's events should serve as a lesson for all of us," he said. "Military effectiveness depends on identifying and developing the best soldiers, not on maintaining traditional limitations that may no longer serve our needs." Word of Sarah's perfect qualification spread rapidly throughout the military community. News reports picked up the story, highlighting not just her exceptional marksmanship, but also the broader implications for women's roles in combat positions. 3 weeks later, Sarah received her orders to report to the Special Operations Sniper School at Fort Bragg. The intensive 6-month program would test her skills against the most challenging scenarios the military could create. On her last day at the base, General Harrison requested a private meeting. In his office, surrounded by decades of military memorabilia, he spoke candidly about the impact of that day on the shooting range. "Sergeant Mitchell, your performance forced me to confront my own biases," he said. "I realized that my doubts about women in combat roles were based on assumptions rather than evidence. You provided that evidence in the most convincing way possible." Sarah appreciated the general's honesty. "Sir, I hope my success will open doors for other qualified women who want to serve in these roles." "I believe it will," the general replied. "Your example has already influenced policy discussions at the highest levels of military command. Change often comes slowly in the military, but exceptional performance like yours accelerates that process." 6 months later, Sarah graduated at the top of her Special Operations Sniper class. Her record-breaking qualification had become legend throughout the military sniper community, inspiring a new generation of female soldiers to pursue the most challenging military occupations. General Harrison attended her graduation ceremony, personally presenting her with the Special Operations Sniper tab. In his remarks that day, he spoke about the importance of recognizing excellence wherever it appears and the military's obligation to utilize the best talent available. Sergeant Mitchell's journey from that day on the range to this graduation platform represents more than individual achievement, he told the audience. It represents the military's evolution toward true merit-based selection for our most critical roles. Sarah's story spread beyond military circles, becoming a symbol of perseverance and excellence in the face of skepticism. Young women across the country saw her example as proof that determination and skill could overcome any barrier. Years later, as Staff Sergeant Sarah Mitchell deployed on her first overseas mission, she carried with her not just the sniper badge she had earned that day on the range, but also the knowledge that her perfect performance had changed minds, opened doors, and paved the way for future generations of female soldiers. General Harrison, meanwhile, had become one of the military's strongest advocates for equal opportunity in combat roles. He often referenced that day on the shooting range as the moment that taught him the difference between tradition and progress, between assumption and evidence. The shooting range, where Sarah had proven herself, became a place of significance on the base. A small plaque was installed near the firing line, commemorating the day when 12 perfect shots changed not just one soldier's career, but the military's understanding of what excellence looks like. Sarah's legacy extended far beyond her individual achievements. Her perfect qualification under impossible pressure had demonstrated that skill, dedication, and courage know no gender boundaries. She had not just earned a badge that day, she had earned respect, opened doors, and changed history.